Welcome to Foxborough's Conservation Commission meeting, November 20th, in the Gala Meeting Room, Town Hall, 40 South Street. The meeting will be broadcast live and recorded by Foxborough Cable Access. And at 7 p.m., I'll open the meeting. Do we have any public comments? Come up and...
Hi, I'm Kay Andberg, the president of the Foxborough Rotary Club, and we had a question or an idea of placing a granite bench on the Lane property and wondered if that would be something that the commission would allow. I was considering the area past the dam as it comes up to the slopes where the esker is, because there's a little shade there. And then the people could also view that big open expanse of the Neponset Reservoir from that site.
There's, if you follow that trail on going up towards Chestnut Street, there's one area where there was a bench. It's in very bad disrepair right now.
The one where there's that lean bench?
Yes. Yes. Would that be, I'm not objecting to the bench. I love the idea, because we have one on the point there for.
Right.
I just wonder if that would be replacing that one might be an option.
It could be. I was unaware that it wasn't safe because I've used it. So, it's a little tilty.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just thinking of the other site because there's so many more people that walk that area, and also as a way to welcome people who might be a little unsteady on their feet, so that when they got to that spot, they could have a little bit of a rest. And that would, people encourage more seniors or people who have, a slight unsteady gait, that it might be nice for them to have a spot.
Yeah, either place would be.
It would be fine.
Yeah.
And would we, and also, would it be allowed to have something written on it, like Rotary or something about peace or something?
Sure. Yep.
Would I need to come before the board or speak to Jane about the signage once we determine what our ideas are?
You could just, unfortunately, Jane is out for a bit. Just run it by Diana, and she can forward it to the members.
Board. Great, thank you.
Before, any comments or questions?
Sounds like a good idea to me.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good idea.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your efforts. It's not quite 7:05, so we'll have 1 Patriot Place, DEP 157579, a request for a partial certificate of compliance.
Hi.
Hi.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lauren Gluck with Par Corporation, and here with me are Dan Krantz and Woody Benisek-Beal from the Craft Group. We're here to discuss a request for partial certificate of compliance for the Revolution Soccer Training Facility at 1776 Revolution Way. And we're also here to discuss a request for determination for some remaining work that had not been completed under the order of conditions that we wish to move forward with. So I think it makes sense to start with the partial certificate of compliance, go over what the work has that's been done, and then move forward from there and talk about the work that has yet to be done.
Okay.
So can you see my screen? Yes. Okay. So just to orient everybody that's not familiar with the site, the Revolution Training Center, it's located to the rear of Patriot Place, between Cross Street and then the rear side of Patriot Place next to Man Pond, along a road that used to be called Keith Road, and now it's referred to as Revolution Way. It's a new training center for the New England Revolution soccer team that's also used for other soccer camps and programs. And the work was permitted under an order of conditions in 2018. So the order was issued October 2018, and it would have expired October 2021, but with the tolling period under COVID, it would have expired January 2023. So it's pretty recently expired. However, most of the facility was substantially complete by 2019. So this figure here, which was included in your packets, shows in blue the portions of the work that have been completed. In yellow, this is the work that was permitted but not yet completed. So you'll see here, this is the access from Patriot Place that comes down here. This was a practice field that was already in existence before the project. And then following down the road here, you see the parking lot, the training center building, which houses locker rooms and office space, and then 2 natural grass soccer fields to the rear of that, along with another access point down here from Cross Street. And then also, there's an access drive coming down here to where there was another permitted field. A synthetic turf soccer field was permitted over here, but not yet constructed. And then down here is an irrigation basin that has been constructed. You can kind of see the outline of it under the blue here. There was another component of the work that wasn't constructed, and there is no intention to complete, which is I think it was mostly a boardwalk, a pedestrian walkway that would connect this synthetic turf field down to this, to the main campus. However, they're not looking to move forward with that at this time. So we've included a letter from the engineer VHB as well as some as-built plans certifying that the project has been completed in compliance with the plans. And so that has been signed off on. We have the as-builts. We also submitted some photos showing the site for those who haven't been able to make it out to the site, which I'm happy to walk through if anyone wants to take a look. I know Mr. Bodie and Mr. Thomas did meet us out on site a few weeks back and were able to see the completed work. And then I should also mention, there was some pretty substantial work in riverfront area as part of this project. A lot of it was previously degraded riverfront area. So a big component of the work was to do riverfront restoration, which in this figure here, you'll see it's outlined in yellow. These are areas along this perennial stream where debris was removed, invasives were removed, and then the native plant community was enhanced with some additional plantings to create a more robust plant community. There was some wetland fill, so this purple outline here, this is right to the front of the training center building between the 2 parking lots. This is a wetland replication area that offsets the filled wetlands. There were several filled isolated wetlands as part of this project, so this replicates them at a ratio of 3 to 1. These SPs, these just refer to sampling plots that we've taken out there to monitor the growth of the vegetation in some representative areas throughout. And then in this here, hatched here, this was Area 15. I don't know if you recall, during construction, there was an area of inadvertent wetland disturbance to this area. It was a pretty marginal wetland. It was completely dominated by buckthorn that was accidentally disturbed. So there was a restoration plan submitted after the fact, after the order had been issued, seeking approval of restoration to that area, which included a bunch of new plantings there. So during PAR's recent inspections on site, we did take a look at all of these areas to see where we are at year 4 growing season. I think it's the 4th growing season following the construction. The certificate of compliance does require 5 years of post-construction monitoring and then certification that it's meeting this, I think, 80% native cover performance standard. This area here, it's thriving. It's doing wonderfully. The plants are growing great. There are a few areas of invasive plants that we've tagged with blue flagging for removal, which Craft intends to go out in the springtime and address those corrective actions, pull those out. But it's really, within the replication area, it's a very few isolated occurrences of invasives. It's definitely over 80% native cover, if not 100% native cover. In the riverfront areas, you'll see here, there's a few outlined areas in red, and then a few outlined areas in orange. So for the most part, the riverfront is meeting the goal of, I think it was also 80% native cover. However, in some areas, there has been some invasive species coming in, especially along disturbed edges, where we have a few stands of knotweed, buckthorn, multiflora rose, honeysuckle. They're kind of taking over in these isolated spots. So what we're proposing to do in the springtime to address that is to remove those invasive species, and then in the areas that are disturbed by kind of these monoculture stands, to plant some supplemental saplings and shrubs The orange areas are not so dominated with invasives, but just a little more sparse in the understory, so we kind of want to, you know, spruce it up a little bit. Yeah, and of course, there are other invasives peppered throughout that we did tag with blue that will all be removed as well, but where we don't really feel any additional plants are warranted. So that's generally the overview of the work that has been done. If you have any questions on the completed work or on the as-built, myself or Brittany Jesner from VHB, who's also on the call, is happy to answer those questions for you. But at this time, we're seeking a partial certificate of compliance, given that we do have additional work to be completed, which I'm trying to pull up the figure here, which is this this yellow box here around the third soccer field, which will be discussed as part of the RFD filing.
Yeah, it was very interesting going out, and I'm glad to see that banking has been stabilized. We had a lot of trouble with that, but that looks to be very stable now, so.
Mm-hmm.
And Rebecca, you were out, did you have any questions or?
Nothing that wasn't answered when we were out there that I can think of off the top of my head. It was good to, since I wasn't on the board when it was permitted.
Right.
It was good to see it visually and what had been done and what you're hoping to do.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions from the board?
I don't.
You're thinking, David. I can see the wheels turning.
I would like to visit it to see, because I've been out there for maybe 5 different times during the progress. And during the worst rainstorms, they were having difficulties trying to maintain the controls. And I was there right after they wiped out that area, the marginal wetland area.
Area 15.
A few of us were a little shocked what happened to all the trees that were there. So it was a mistake, you know. But I think I'd like to still see it before the snow comes.
I'm sure we can arrange a visit for you.
I'm retired, so I'm available.
Right.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, do you want to hold up the partial?
I think I would like to see it. I think Rich would like to see it too. We should at least ask him if he wants to, if we set up a date, if he is available, because sometimes he is available. So, and he was out there a few times with us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The only question that and Bob mentioned, they saw that that corner of the soccer field there, the northwest corner, how'd you finally stabilize that? Because I haven't, the last few times I saw it, it was being ripped open by the water.
The northwest corner of this soccer field here?
Yes,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah, right in that area.
This area?
and the silt was coming down into
Yeah.
that wet area down the back and covering the bottom.
But when we were out there, it was all green.
Yeah, yeah. I hadn't been out there during that period of time, but I went out during the recent inspections to take some photos site-wide. I didn't notice anything over there, but I hadn't been aware that it had happened.
Yeah.
I can speak to years ago, but after the many trials of trying to get it to stabilize, there was a mixture of, riprap, and he did use some engineered soil. That was part of a suggestion from, if you recall, Activitas
Okay.
was the civil engineer record at the time. So there's a combination of some engineered soils with riprap that thankfully
Worked.
literally figuratively stuck. Yeah. Yeah.
Being fresh to this site, I will say that, and, it's basically my job to make sure that the site meets full stabilization. I'd say that, it passed the test for basically my personal opinion. And on behalf of the commission, I feel like they did a good job with stabilizing all the work areas that they're seeking confirmation for, as I've recommended to the board. So, I don't have anything else to comment on that. I think that, for instance, this project could meet the partial certificate of compliance for the areas that they're seeking confirmation for. The area that's highlighted in yellow, I think definitely, is part of the expiration, which we're going to get to next for the request for determination.
Would the delay on the partial complicate matters for you, or?
It shouldn't hold up any sort of request for determination because it's not tied to the original order of conditions. But procedurally, to know exactly the areas that are being seeking closure, it's proper to do that before another permit's issued, but it shouldn't hold up any sort of request for determination decision, just so that way you're aware.
What's your schedule in December for hearings? Do you have one meeting in December?
We have one. December 11th is the only meeting, and
December
that's the
11th,
one for the end of the year, yeah.
Because personally, I have no qualms about issuing the partial now, but if the delay will not affect yours plans, we can hold off until December, until Dave gets a chance to look at it.
That's okay with,
It sounds like it shouldn't delay us, correct?
Right. I think that we're able to work in the non-jurisdictional areas
yeah.
now to be able to get
Yeah.
a jump on some of the work. And
Because we'll take up this determination next and get that going for you.
Okay.
All right. With that, I'll read that notice. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, and Foxborough's Wetland Protection ByLaw, Chapter 267, the Conservation Commission will open a public meeting on Monday, November 20th, 2023 at 7:05 p.m. in the Gala Meeting Room, Foxborough Town Hall, 40 South Street, and via Zoom on a request for determination of applicability filed by Dan Krantz, Foxborough Realty Association, for the construction of a synthetic turf soccer field, parking and site improvements at 1776 Revolution Way, Assessors Map 10, Parcel 7, within 100 feet of a wetland resource area. The application is available for public inspection, Conservation Office. All right, you're up again.
Okay, I'm just waiting for my drawing here to load. So here in yellow, we have a close-up view of the work that's being proposed currently under an RFD to complete the previously permitted work. There's a synthetic soccer field located here with a practice warm-up area, a paved parking lot to the north, and then I believe this is a gravel parking lot to the north of that. There would also be a stormwater basin just north here. As I mentioned previously, there was this previously permitted boardwalk walkway which has been discarded. We're no longer seeking to do that work. This site, I'll show you, this is I think this might be a 2021 aerial photograph, but it shows the condition of the site of this forthcoming work. A lot of this site has already been disturbed under the approved order of conditions. So you'll see a lot of it is just flattened, graded, and cleared. It's been used as staging and stockpiling areas throughout the project. And it's essentially, most of it's been leveled. It was previously a gravel pit with a lot of undulating topography, and it's been mostly leveled. These two little orange blurbs here, these are isolated wetlands that were filled under the authorized work under the order of conditions. You'll also see we have the perennial stream up here with 200-foot riverfront area is shown in blue. So this remaining work will have some work in the riverfront area, but most of that's, as you can see, already been disturbed from the site preparation activities. The stream crossing, there was a replacement stream crossing right just to the north of the site, but that work has already been done under the order of conditions. And then further south where the soccer field will go, there is some vegetation here you'll see. So if we go back to this aerial, you'll see the limit of work does cut into the tree line a bit in this corner, but this is largely, except for this tiny little spot here, outside of Concom jurisdiction, this outside of buffer zones, and outside of riverfront area. And most of that is, it's trees, but it's pretty highly disturbed, early successional, mostly invasives in the understory. So the remaining work in Concom jurisdiction would be working for the parking lot and stormwater basin up in this area of the site here, and then the soccer field down here. So there is also some buffer zone to this BVW that we're cutting into, and we have provided updated wetland delineations as part of our scope for this work, because the last time they were flagged was 2017. We wanted to make sure it was a current representation of what's out there. And there were only some minor deviations to the wetland boundaries, but nothing that substantially impacted limits of buffer in the limit of work. I should also mention there's this little, down in this corner, this isolated wetland. In the previous filing, I think we called it wetland 21 or 22, and in this one it's wetland H. This is a ByLaw jurisdictional IVW, so it's an isolated wetland over 500 feet in size, but it definitely does not meet the ILSF criteria. It's pretty small, doesn't really flood to more than maybe an inch or two, and it's mostly invasive species. This area has not yet been filled, but there's about 500 square feet that would be filled as part of the forthcoming work. However, the replication work that we talked about during the certificate of compliance has already been done, so the performance standards for those impacts have essentially already been met. So we would ask that, you know, the very minor ByLaw wetland impact wouldn't hinder this from being a negative determination, considering that the mitigation has already been done.
Yeah, it's all part of the overall initial,
Yeah, in this proposed work, it mirrors what was already approved, but just unfortunately it had expired, so, yeah.
Questions, comments?
Well, originally, the upper northerly portion was previously disturbed even before this project started. And there was storage, and it just, you know, it was all ripped
Degraded.
up and everything.
Yep.
And then when we walked down through there, we hit almost every single isolated or wetland area at that time. It was a lot of fun. And I thought, wasn't there a building proposed? The academy was going to have a building associated with the synthetic turf on the original proposal?
I think there was suggested to be, I'm going to use the term shed, but right at the front corner, or the northwest corner of the field, that was shown on the original plan set as an
Okay.
option, yes. Yep.
Do we don't have that on the current plan?
It may have been flagged, yeah, adjacent to, there's an irrigation pump skid there.
Oh, okay.
That I think it was flagged as just a potential shed on a layout materials plan at one point.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, quick question. Where is the well that, I know it was, I think it's up higher, isn't it?
It is just, from where that irrigation skid is that you could highlight, it's just east by, 40 feet.
East.
Yeah, just about the edge of where the yellow,
Okay.
the blue dash, and it's just on the edge of that, just to up left of where your cursor is right now.
Now,
Yeah.
you're still using that for irrigation of the fields?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So you're not going to have any academy building for the kids, when they come to use the fields and learn and stuff like that?
They have locker rooms in the existing facility.
That's, yeah, they've operationalized it in that existing training center
Big one.
up at the other fields.
Okay.
Yep.
But you're limiting the boardwalk so that they're going to have to go all the way around to get to it.
It's not that long of a walk. Like, it looks like a longer walk on the plan, but when we're out there, we walked it. It's pretty walkable from
Yeah.
this
Yes.
way.
I remember that.
Yeah.
It's-
They are athletes after all. They should be.
It's good to stay in
know.
shape, take the extra length, right?
Energetic.
Steps for the kids, that's great.
Any other questions, comments? John?
None for me.
Okay.
Were there any major concerns the first time around when it was?
Um,
I mean, it seems like there were, the ones were addressed, like the riverfront and,
Yeah, there were, going through the first iteration of it, yes. because of the riverfront and all of that, yes. But I think we worked through all of them, including the siltation era. But other than that, I think it is looking good as far as I'm concerned. Everything is coming back fine. So.
And basically, it was old gravel pits.
Yes.
Dugouts.
Yeah, it was a mess.
All over the place. It
Yeah.
was a real mess. And
So,
It was really
Improvement
fun to
anyway.
flag.
Yes. Yes,
But
very
we
definitely.
did have a few isolated areas, but the major area of concern was the 200-foot, waterfront, and
Yeah.
the stream runs all the time, very clear. And then there was just only one other area that needed work, was down close to the building.
Yeah.
And that's the one that they had to come up with mitigation and, over the 5 years, besides around the stream, that
Yeah.
they pulled out a lot of invasives and got permission to burn them.
Yeah, that's right.
If I recall.
You're right, yep.
My guess
So-
is we might seek to do that again
Yeah.
after this spring when we remove what's out there.
Yeah.
So, stormwater parking area, where?
The stormwater basin is
It's awfully
located.
close to that perennial stream, and I know we have problems when they were working out there, we would get washouts coming down grade into the stream and washing out on both sides of the culvert that needed work on. It was not easy to stabilize, it was more sand gravel. So I don't know what happened to stabilize that, I haven't been there for a while, so,
This crossing here you're talking about?
yes, that definitely was a
Yeah.
problem for you guys.
I mean, when I was out there recently, it seemed pretty stabilized. Unfortunately, some of what's stabilizing it is invasive, but it seemed like there was a lot of vegetation growth there. But I haven't been out there during the time, that period that you had. Yeah, this plan doesn't show the basin on it. I could go back to the permit.
Well, standards have not changed since this permit has been valid, so everything that was previously approved under the stormwater standards, Stormwater Handbook standards, still is relative.
Yeah.
So there shouldn't be any sort of issues when it comes to setbacks or any issues when it comes to the, design of how it was when it was initially approved.
Yeah.
But the question is, what are the sediment controls and stormwater management? Are we putting it underground on the paving area, or are we putting up basins? I recall we had a couple basins out there, and some interior landscape areas to act as a filtration. I forgot, they're not basins, but they're soft filtration,
Like a
like a rain garden type area.
We do have Brittany from VHB, who's available to talk a little more specifically about the stormwater for this site. We can't hear you. I think she's trying to.
She's trying to zoom in.
I see she's talking, but we can't hear her. Let's see in the chat. Oh, she says, I'm not muted. Is the, yeah, maybe the volume on,
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah.
yes, we
Yep.
can,
Yep.
thank you.
Oh, excellent. Good evening, everyone. Brittany Gessner, civil engineer with VHB for the project. There were previously proposed 3 surface infiltration basins for the project. Let me see if I can annotate on this. So there's 1 surface infiltration basin here, 1 surface infiltration basin here, and if you can just zoom out a little bit, Lauren.
Oh, sorry.
There's one no, it's okay. There's 1 surface infiltration basin right here. So those are 3 surface infiltration basins that were previously proposed for the project and are still proposed exactly as they were approved back in 2018.
Thank you for that. You all set, David?
Yeah, I guess so. Just wondering if they were the same ones as before? Or
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
she said, the same
Yeah.
as.
Yeah, there's no
we-
changes.
We're not proposing any modifications to the stormwater management system and stormwater report that was submitted in September of 2018.
Okay.
So, question, synthetic turf, is that porous?
Yes.
Yeah.
You have a
It's a stone layer underneath it
that
into a
absorb- yeah.
subsurface drainage.
Anything else? Someone want to make a motion for a negative determination for,
Make a request for negative determination for 1776 Revolution Way, Assessors Map 01, Parcel 007.
Second?
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think maybe we'll just set up with Diana to get David out.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that works.
So we'll try to do that
All right.
next week if that works.
Yeah.
Next day or something?
We're gonna give her Thanksgiving.
If you'd like me to be there, I can be there too.
Thank you, okay.
All right, thank you, John.
And we'd like to get Rich's schedule also, right? So we'll filter that through. Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank
Happy
you.
Thanksgiving.
Yep, you as well. Dan, let's not have a turkey just on Thursday, not,
Understood.
oh, by the way, were there any comments from the audience? Okay, sorry about that. I should have asked. Do we have some minutes, David, you want to do?
We have some minutes of November 6, 2023, in which Bob was available, Jim, by Zoom, myself, Rich, and Rebecca, and Tanya. And basically, I find the minutes are very accurate and very detailed. Mainly, it was about 30 Taylor Road and the public hearing that we had with regards to notice of intent. And then Riverbridge subdivision request for certificate of compliance, but that would be worked upon. And 29 Baker Street Resource Area Restoration Plan. And the 16 Garrett Spillane Road, which was a progress update by the homeowner as to trying to accomplish the restoration. And then Beaumont Pond Dam, request for extension, but also an update by what is going on there and a timeline for the tree removals. I recommend that we approve these minutes.
Do I
Thank
hear
you,
a
Diana.
second?
Thank you.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Speaking of Garrett Spillane Way,
Good evening.
good evening.
Back again here. And so it was recommended by John to put together a letter with the details around the amendment and also request an extension for the existing order of conditions to kind of work on the restoration, give us some more time there.
And thank you for the letter. I think you did just about everything we asked you to do. Any comments, John, or?
No, I mean, I basically had the conversation with Ryan about the best, I guess, cleanest option for him to pursue this, for making it easier on himself. then have to, refile. So there was an existing valid permit that expires unfortunately next week. So it's in his best interest to basically have this permit amended and extended at this time.
Okay. Any questions, comments from the,
My only suggestion is to amend the permit first and then extend it.
okay.
I don't have any questions. I like the detail.
David, any,
No problem.
okay,
Anything to help them out.
all right.
So if we amend it, how long does the amendment go for?
The amendment goes with the original date from when it was issued, so it's still basically expires next week. Then you extend it for the period of time that you're seeking the extension for. But the amendment is just so that way we can change ownership and also make the change and modification to the site plan that was originally proposed for mitigation.
All set with it, Peter? Okay. Want to make the motion?
So what am I, sure. What am I motioning? To approve an amendment?
Amend
Okay.
the restoration.
So make a motion to approve amendment for 16 Garrett Spillane Road, F2021-1.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? And then while you're making the motions, now what, let's see, so we showed extended up for 2 years.
Yeah, when do you think you'll be able to finish everything?
Hoping to plant in the spring. Mm-hmm. And then, I don't know, whatever.
2-year monitoring, so 3 years sounds comfortable?
Yeah. Okay. 3 years, Peter?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay,
2 growing seasons, right?
yep. You want to make the motion?
You again?
You again.
So now we're making a motion to extend?
Yep,
Okay. So I make a motion to extend plans for F2021-1 at 16 Garrett Spillane Road. And the plans as submitted.
To 2026,
I'm sorry?
for 3 years.
Oh, for a 3-year period, yes.
Second?
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? All right.
So there's some type of paperwork I need, I guess? I bring this to
This needs to get signed first. and then-
Registry of Deeds, right?
Yep,
And then bring it back?
yep. Diana will give it to you tomorrow, or mail it out tomorrow.
Perfect. One quick question, there was a couple dead trees right on the edge there of the clearing. One of them's a big pine tree, I didn't know if that was okay to, and the other one was that tree that snapped in half.
Now, is that dead pine tree, is that still on your property, or is it just,
I think it's right on the edge, but it's kind of, I think if it ever went down, it would fall on my house. So that one is kind of bothering me more.
That's the one that was down below.
So state
Yeah.
law
Yeah.
basically states that you can trim up to your common boundary, but you can't cut the tree if it's not on your property. So you basically have to determine if the tree's on your property. Unfortunately, to do that, you have to hire a surveyor if you haven't done so already, to basically demarcate where your common boundary is with your neighbor.
Okay. Even for that one that's snapped off, that one's okay, even though it's kind of in the 100-foot notice.
Is
there.
it imposing a hazard?
Looks like it could fall over at any time.
Well, if it's imposing a hazard, then I would say to take it out with manual use, whether it be a chainsaw or something of that nature.
Okay. All right, sounds good. That's all. Thank you.
thank you.
Springtime, I guess once, I'm getting everything ready, and it's actually kind of coming along. So just give you guys the heads up before I
Yes.
plant stuff, and, okay,
Yep.
sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Kevin.
You as well.
Thank you.
Did you have,
Oh, sir, I'm just
you-
visiting. Thank
you're
you.
just
On
observing?
my way around here.
Okay. Anything else? John? you-
No, I hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving. And, yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you as well.
So I will say that River Ridge subdivision, Souza Avenue and Barros Lane, I met with Bill Buckley and went over my observations and what seems to be missing on some of the bounds for our properties versus what work that probably needs just a little more attention maintenance-wise out there. And I also pointed out that they did fill 25 to 30 some odd feet of our land on a corner of the, not Souza, but the other Barros Lane. So he was gonna look into that because there was a fair amount of fill in there and it was almost like chest high when you went down in the back. So that wasn't on the plans and we went over that.
Okay.
Whether we can do something about that or not, I have to go by some advice here because this is at the end. But
Unfortunately, here's kind of where the situation lies, is that if, you know, the work that was previously approved by the commission doesn't match or isn't up to date with as-built conditions, the work basically needs to be mitigated. Unfortunately, that's kind of the case, especially if they've infracted upon someone else's property. You know, so I'd basically, you know, you need to basically have them, you know, show an area map of the areas that have been disturbed. And they have to basically present a, you know, alternative as to how they're going to mitigate for said alterations. Especially, is it on town property, you say?
it is now,
Okay.
it's one of the two parcels that they conveyed to the town as part of also a bigger conveyance of the conservation restriction on back land that was partially contaminated. So working with Fish and Game and a couple other agencies. But these two parcels were part of the subdivision approval process.
So the change in grade, does that affect, what does that affect?
Basically, there's like 3 to 4 feet of fill that doesn't need to support the road that's next to it. And I don't know why they pushed it out there, but there's also a stream that runs in between
Okay.
into a riprap area that they built.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they disturbed that again.
So, yeah, like I said, if the previously approved plans, it's when within conservation jurisdiction, correct?
Yeah.
If the previously approved plans don't match the proposed conditions, then for instance, you can't issue a certificate of compliance. It's just, you know, that's just the way it is. Because when the commission approves something, you hope to basically get the same kind of thing within margin, within a couple tenths, you know? I mean, sometimes, you know, there might be some small modifications that are acceptable, but, you know, 4 feet of fill, that's, you know, that's not acceptable. So we'll see what they have to say when they come back at the next meeting, I guess.
Yeah, because Bill, I think, requested it.
He said put it on a future agenda, and maybe not necessarily December, he might go into January.
Okay.
I'll double check with him, but
Okay.
if he wants it on the next one or not.
Mr. Baker was very cooperative every time we were out there, and he had problems when Jane and I visited a few times and trying to control a lot of erosion problems. It's just the type of soil that was out there and the heavy rains.
Yeah, okay. All right, so that will come back to us, so. All right, anything else? Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Right?
Opposed? None? Thank you.